Welcome to the Leader's Abstract, the podcast about the inner work of leadership. Here we explore the ideas, habits, and blind spots that shape how mission-driven leaders show up for their teams and the communities they serve. I'm your host, Dr. Jeremy Rutter. Today, I'm joined by Lizzy Martin, the inaugural president for CNY Rotary. Thanks, Lizzy.
Thanks for having me here. I'm so humbled.
Welcome, welcome. And for those who don't know, now I'm a Rotarian and you are as well, but for those who've not had that opportunity to know about Rotary, what is Rotary? And more importantly, how did you get into it?
That is the biggest question that we hear when we say we're in Rotary, right?
That's right.
Rotary is a group of volunteers who do community service. And what that looks like varies by club. And there are clubs in most of the communities, especially here in central New York. We have over 100 clubs in our region. There are over 36,000 clubs in the world. So pretty much anywhere you go, you could see a Rotary club doing community service there, and it'll look unique. They're feeding people, they're cleaning their community and beautifying it. They're providing educational opportunities for youth. They're working on peace and conflict resolution initiatives. They care about helping other people. And while we do that, we become friends with each other and make real connections, have a better understanding of our community and the world, and just get that opportunity to flex our humanitarian muscles.
That's right. And I've been a Rotarian for about 7 years now. I started in a Rotary Club out in Woodstock, Illinois. As a way to, when I moved to Woodstock, I joined as a way to just meet other like-minded servant leaders. And do you find that a lot in your Rotary clubs, that is kind of the impetus of people coming into town and wanting to make new connections?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons people join Rotary, but connections is a big part of it. And like you said, connecting with like-minded people, people who care about the same things you do in the world, who espouse some of the same values. You know, our core values in Rotary are leadership, service, diversity, fellowship, and integrity. And so those are important to a big group of people, a big diverse group of people, and we welcome them all in Rotary. I was only 25 when I joined Rotary, and it's because I'm a third generation Rotarian. So I was a young professional, and my granddad sent me an email saying, "When are you going to join Rotary?" And I said, I thought it was expensive to be in Rotary. And I also hadn't like settled down yet, right? Like I was still living with a roommate. I hadn't bought a house or anything. And I said, I'm going to wait and join the club in the community where I decide to live. I don't know where that is yet. And he said, well, that's not an excuse because you can transfer clubs, which you know, Jeremy, you've
I
transferred
do.
clubs.
Yes.
Yeah. So then I said, well, I don't think I can afford it because I knew his club was pretty expensive. And he said, every club is different, shop around. So I started just having that on my mind, and I noticed in one of my clients' email signatures that she said she was a member of the Baldwinsville Club, which I knew was close to my office. Because at the time I had a 45-minute commute, so I couldn't join the one in where I was living, but I could join one if it was closer to work. So I asked her to visit. It was the Baldwinsville Rotary Club. I had only been to Baldwinsville once before, but they were such nice people. I joined, and that was 17 years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you've really been in for quite a long time, and it's great. You know, it is a service organization. And like many service organizations, there are opportunity for leadership. There's opportunity for service in whatever kind of capacity you like. And I've noticed within Rotary clubs, you know, you have kind of the various, there are a lot of people that like to do stuff, go out and do the service. And then there are people that like to go down the leadership pathway, which is a very different experience than leadership that would be within I'm not going to say professional organization, but a workplace.
Yeah.
Because Rotary is all volunteer. And so leading volunteers is a very unique challenge. And filled with rewards. But tell me about your Rotary leadership journey. You know, where I'm assuming being the CNY president wasn't your first leadership gig in Rotary.
Yeah, definitely not. There are requirements to be in that role that require you to do other leadership things first. So, I would say my leadership began because I joined such a fantastic club that they actually listened to this young person and her ideas and they let me run with things. I work professionally in advertising. And so and obviously I'm a millennial, so I'm very adept at social media and all things tech and internet. And my club had a pretty old looking website and did not have any social media. So I said, can I set us up a Facebook page? Can we look into this Rotary based business that offers you a website? And they agreed to all these things. And so I really started in the public image space. That's what we call it in Rotary, the promotional public relations stuff. We call it public image. And I became my club's public image chair, the webmaster, the social media manager. Then I became that at the district level as I was invited in. When people see what your club is doing and they see you're doing it well, they sometimes tap you to help out with other projects. And it's a very organic pathway. And then once you're leading at the district level in any capacity, you become a potential for district leadership overall because you're starting to make those connections across multiple clubs, which is important. And you have that name recognition. Being the communications person for the district, everybody knew me. Oh, you're the one I get the emails from.
Right.
Because I was the email lady. And even to this day, sometimes that's how I get, oh, Lizzy with the emails. Yes, okay. So that was how I got there. And then when I interviewed to be, at the time, it was called district governor. We were a much smaller district, right? It was just the Syracuse and Utica area and about 40 clubs. And they asked me in the interview, they said, we know there's a change coming. We don't know what it is yet. Can you be flexible as far as what year you end up serving in this role? And I was like, sure, I got time. And then, like a few months later, they confirmed we were bringing three districts into one and that we would be going through this whole new unification process. And so, just a few months after we had our kickoff retreat, thus began every 2 weeks of CNY Rotary meetings for the last 4 years that I've been
Wow.
in. Both planning, the bringing together of three entities into one, and the launch of it, and serving as the president for the very first year of CNY Rotary.
That's incredible. And so, what were some of those challenges as I would assume bringing I couldn't imagine bringing three clubs together, but bringing three districts together must have come up with a lot of great challenges. What were some of the more memorable ones?
Yeah, I think actually clubs would be way harder because we take a lot of pride in our identity of our club, right? And the histories and unique traditions that exist among each club. Districts, a little bit more disconnected, especially for the majority of members. Only about 10% of members really engage with the district. And it's because you're leading your club, so you're coming to our training events. Or, like me, you're someone who's doing well in your club and you get tapped and asked to serve at the district level. Most members don't interact with us. So, in that aspect, it was not too challenging. But there were certain Rotary programs, like our youth exchange program, that we had to meld three different worlds. Like one of the districts used a totally different database and service for managing their youth exchange program. And that's where we have high school students from other countries come to spend a year here in our schools and hosted by Rotary families or members of the community who've been vetted by Rotary, as well as us sending our American students abroad for a year of study in another country. So there's all kinds of, as you can imagine, complications with having to or make all those arrangements, ensure safety for the students, prepare the families for everything that's going to be happening for that year, and to have two totally different approaches that we had to figure out which one are we going to adapt? Do we take practices from one and meld it with another? That was a big challenge. And that's again, that's something where people take a lot of pride in it. And that's what makes it the hardest to ask people to set aside their ego, to set aside their pride, to set aside their belief that their way is the best way or the only way, and truly come to the table to listen and make decisions based on what's going to be best for CNY.
Absolutely. That's whether it's volunteer or whether it's in the workplace. That's definitely the hardest aspect of leadership is getting people who've always done it this way
Yeah.
to maybe consider doing it a different way, even if it's slightly different. Um, and I'm sure you saw that not only with youth exchange, but with everything. Um, what are some of the challenges you found with, did you have any clubs that were threatening to drop out, or was there any like real um, drama with that you were kind of surprised with being a service organization?
Yeah, I mean, for those of us who were close to the process, we saw the opportunity that this afforded us. And that's what we like grasped onto. Like, this is an amazing opportunity. We're going to be able to revamp how we structure our committees that so that they're super focused on supporting the clubs and members because that's our main role as a district is to support our clubs and members. And that is what like drove us through. It was people who were past leaders, had those districts, had that district pride in their hearts that had concerns. And then once we explained to them what we're doing and brought them closer to the process, it put their minds at ease. But there are certainly people who formed opinions early on, were not interested in learning more or hearing more. And I think they've remained naysayers to this day, even coming to the end of our second year of being CNY at this point. And, we just have to keep trying to keep people informed. And with my public image background in Rotary and communications really being my strong suit, that was what I was focused on heavily in that first year, is explaining to people what we've done, what we're implementing, where it's going, what we're trying out, asking for their patience and grace because we would be doing all new and different things. And just trying to keep them informed, knowing that that's what helps bring people on board. That's what helps put people's minds at ease about the changes.
That's right. Feeling involved, having great communication, and knowing that you're always going to have those few that you're never going to win over,
Yeah.
and not spinning your wheels on that. Um, I don't know if you've ever read the book "Our Iceberg is Melting." It's a cute book. It's very short. It's kind of written in the design of a children's book, but it's really for leaders, and it's about penguins. And the iceberg is actually melting, and so but it kind of runs into those same concepts of you have the old guard that says nothing is wrong, we're just going to keep doing it this way,
Yeah.
and then you have the new people that say I have all these great ideas, and then like any bell curve there's a chunk of people right in the middle. So it's a great book, it's a great example of probably what you went through with a lot of the old guard. I will say, um, do you have an experience with being a young woman in a leadership role in an organization that historically has been male, older male dominated? And in fact, I think it's been pretty recent that women have even been in Rotary. Um, and then to have a young woman as a leader at a district level, did you run into any of those issues? And if so, how did you deal with them?
You know, um, it's a great question. Women were not allowed to join Rotary, according to our bylaws, until 1989, after a club in Duarte, California, sued and took it to the Supreme Court to force Rotary's hand at admitting women. And that's, a little bit embarrassing for us.
It is.
And
It's not that long ago. It doesn't
it's really
feel
not. I
like,
mean, I
of
was alive,
course, to
like
me,
I was born
1989 doesn't
then.
feel like that long ago. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and then just within the last 10 years, we had our first ever Rotary International president, who was a woman, Jennifer Jones. And we've had amazing women leaders since then. And honestly, I mean, I don't know if Rotary would still be here if it wasn't for women joining, because truly my experience has been a lot of women leaders in our area, including the year before I became CNY president when we had the three districts still. All three districts were led by women district governors. So,
that's incredible.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's becoming so much more commonplace for us, but it is still a shock to people when they see me, especially as a younger woman, being a leader at that level in our organization. And I really love to, actually, it's a motivator for me, right? Like, I want to break the stereotype because it isn't just all old white guys having lunch. That's not our organization anymore. We're so different. We're so much more vibrant and diverse. And, there are some clubs who are very traditional like that still, but so many more clubs that are not, that are, having happy hours and inviting in young professionals. And it's such a benefit. As someone who joined as a young professional, every young professional should be in Rotary. I mean, the mentorship that you have, the network that you develop, the learning opportunities, the leadership opportunities are endless in Rotary. And it's such a safe space when you're in that volunteer world to exercise and hone those skills. So I encourage that. But as a woman, I've never run into blatant sexism myself. If it happened and maybe I didn't notice it, that could definitely be the case. I tend to be a pretty charming and persuasive person in person, so I use that to my advantage.
That's great. Well, that's really good to hear. That is always a concern,
Yeah.
is when there's differences around the table. And I just did a podcast last month that talked about, making space around the table for people who are not normally there, and how we sometimes have to make space for yourself, and then hold the door open for
Yes.
those who are going to come alongside you in there. And so, what do you see as the future of Rotary in Central New York? As far as what are some of the growth potentials that we're seeing here?
Well, Rotary is equipping us with a lot more flexibility so that we can design clubs that provide community service opportunities in the ways that people want to do them today. You said this early on in this session that there are some people who join to just do the service part, and there are people who join and end up on that leadership track. We need both to make the world go round. And there's a lot more people, though, who are looking to join and do the service part, and we haven't connected with all of them. And so we need to create clubs that are out there doing great service and attracting those additional volunteers in order to grow our organization and grow our impact, which is our ultimate goal here is to increase the positive impact we're having on the world. But it takes good communication. That to me is the key, great public image. We are doing so much more of that. And being CNY Rotary, one thing we didn't talk about, Jeremy, is districts previously just went by a number, right? We were District 7150
That's right.
before. That to us, even as a member, that means nothing. That's like saying your name followed by the last four of your social. It like
Yeah,
it's your identification number. It's not who you are. It doesn't say who you are. So we renamed ourselves CNY Rotary because we take up the whole center of New York State. And that gives us the ability to help promote Rotary for all of our clubs by having that unifying name. So we're doing more marketing and more communications to help grow our organization. And that is something, even as a past president of CNY Rotary, I get to be a part of because I am still a member of our communications and public image side.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And I have seen a lot of the smaller um, clubs that are kind of offshoot or specialty clubs. I think the Environment Club,
Yeah.
that's there, and then we have the Peace Game,
Yep.
and a lot of things going on with that. Some of the things that people may not know about Rotary is, as you said, it's not just a lunch meeting. There's breakfast clubs. There's evening clubs. There are clubs that are solely service, and so there's not really a lot of meetings. It's just we're going to get together and do some good in our community, and it's a source for various grants. There are district grants, so that you can do some of these items, some of these good service in your community. So, uh, great plug for Rotary.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Lizzy, if people wanted to find out about Rotary and join and find a local club, where would they go and do that?
There's a couple different places. So if you're somewhere else in the world beyond our CNY footprint, you can go to rotary.org and you'll see a link right at the top of the page, find a club. And you can even put in the parameters. I want to meet in the morning and I want it to be, within this radius, and they'll help you find a club. There's even an app you can download called Find a Club app. And then locally, you can go to cnyrotary.org and you'll see a banner right on the homepage. Looking to find a club, click here, and you'll see a listing of when and where all of our clubs meet. And you'll have the option to reach out to their club president to arrange for a visit. And all the Rotary meetings are open to the public. Anyone can come and visit them. There's no obligation to join just because you show up to check it out. And I do encourage you to shop around because every club is unique and different. And you should ask them what their projects are that they do and make sure that's something you would enjoy doing with your free time.
That's right. And
Mhm.
as a former member of the program committee, I will also throw out a plug there that if you, Rotary clubs love programs and presentations. So if you are someone um, who is a leader in the community, a nonprofit, or some type of community service, your local Rotary club probably wants to hear from you. Come and do a presentation. They will love to have you speak, I'm sure. I can speak on behalf of my club. We're booked out 3 months already on
Always.
having people
Yep.
come to speak, and it creates great community connections. We're a somewhat smaller community, New Hartford in Oneida County, upstate New York, Utica area, and great community connections with programs that help those in need, that help the elderly, that help veterans, um, all the way to having the sheriff speak. And so it's great information. Partner well with the schools, and I'm sure other Rotary clubs do the same. And as you said, different Rotary clubs focus on different things. And when I was in Woodstock, Illinois, we had different focuses, and of course that was
Yeah.
during the pandemic, which was um, a different time for
Yeah.
Rotary
True.
and for all of us. Well, Lizzy, it was great talking with you about this. I really appreciate it. If someone wanted to connect with you and pick your brain about Rotary, where could we find you?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Rotary Lizzy, Lizzy with a Y. Or you can link with me on LinkedIn at Lizzy CNY.
Wonderful. Thanks for listening to the Leaders Abstract. These episodes are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn with any questions or suggestions. I've been your host, Dr. Jeremy Rutter, and this has been Rotary Lizzy on the Leaders Abstract.